Good morning, folks. The French elections are going to end. We're going to start getting results back about an hour after this show ends. So I thought it was kind of important to do what the corporate media won't do, and that is to introduce you to them, to the major players in the French elections. So let's fill our cups, let's dig in, and let's do this. Well, folks, we've got some elections going on in France. We just had a massive, just a wonderful turnout in the UK. The Labor just swept into power, pushed the conservative movement out, and I have to tell you, folks, that was just fantastic. Because I've got to ask you this: name anything that the conservative movement has done that's a good thing. Anything. In the United States, in Europe, in Russia, name anything. It's always the left that are doing the work in our societies. It's always the left. But the right, the conservatives, they understand people and they know how to push buttons. And if you look, an example here in the United States is our last Congress. The House is run by Republicans. What did they do? Nothing. I mean, literally nothing. I mean, normally the House would pass 300 to 400 bills just doing the daily work of government. They would pass 300 to 400 bills. The Republicans, I think it was under 30. And like 4 of them were renaming buildings, and 3 of them were just making sure we don't default on our debt, paying the bills for the things that they had already allocated. The right literally does nothing, but they're really good at pushing people's buttons. And that's true worldwide, globally. And we've talked about it before. There has been a weaponization of immigration. It swept Giorgia Meloni into power in Italy. We saw it in Hungary. It is the one-trick pony that Vladimir Putin has used to push friendly governments into power. For him, friendly for him. And folks, it's dangerous. It really is dangerous. The things that this movement, and don't kid yourself, it all comes from Putin and the FSB and their psyops that they have been pushing for more than a decade now. And I brought receipts, so stick with me. That anti-immigrant political op, it's massive here in the United States. My governor, Greg Abbott, can't say, there used to be the old joke that Rudy Giuliani, every sentence out of Rudy Giuliani's mouth was a noun and a verb in 9/11. Yeah, that's what my governor is now. Every single statement out of his mouth has the word border in it. And they push things that are just simply not true. For instance, crime is at an all-time low. It's been falling. President Biden's done an amazing job on that front. Crime has just plummeted. But if you listen to a right-winger that uses militarized immigration, you would think that we are living in a hellscape, and we're not. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to have a discussion. I wanted to do one of those shows that isn't so much about me doing a presentation for you, but a discussion amongst us. So we're going to have a pretty robust roundtable discussion. I just want to throw a little bit of information out there, and then I want to talk about it with you. So stick with me. With the French elections today, we have the National Rally, or the RN. Used to be the FN. It used to be the National Front. That is Marine Le Pen's party. That in the first round of elections got a lot of attention. They really did get a lot of attention. If you saw the news out of that, you would think that they had just won every seat in Parliament. Le Pen's far right set for a big win in first round of national elections. You just do a search. It was just everything was, oh man, Le Pen is absolutely just decimating. And in the last show we talked about it. It really wasn't. The left split their vote. That happens in Canada, by the way. Our Canadian friends will tell you that happens in Canada. The left split their vote in the first round. The first round is virtually meaningless because it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to secure a seat in the first round. It always goes to the second round. And the left has done what it's needed to do. The elections, like I said, we'll get the results about an hour after this show. The left has consolidated together. They are unifying against this fascist right movement. But the question still remains: how did Le Pen's RN, or the National Rally, do so well? And it has to do with the guy I call their bigot prince. See, technically, Marine Le Pen isn't the leader of the RN, the National Rally. The leader of the RN is this guy. One second. Jordan Bardella. And Jordan Bardella is a 28-year-old. That's right, 28 years old. And if you believe the corporate media that the rights were going to just sweep into power, this 28-year-old would be the prime minister. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but no, he is not going to be prime minister. I will bet you my hat on that. Bardella is not going to be France's 28-year-old prime minister. But he was very effective. He really was. He was very effective. And I want to explain to you kind of how this works. To give you an idea who Bardella is, the closest thing I can give you in American politics to a comparison is, oh, hey, Peter Campbell. Good morning. Today is my beautiful wife's birthday. We're going out to enjoy sunshine and family. We're very grateful for you in this community. Thanks. Everybody wish Peter Campbell's wife a happy birthday. Everybody in the community wish Peter Campbell's wife a happy birthday. 29 again, from what I understand. But the closest comparison I can give you to Bardella in American politics is Candace Owens. See, Bardella is the son of an immigrant, but he's the head of the anti-immigration party. If you listen to him, he'll tell you he's Italian. But Italian there is doing a lot of lifting because actually, his great-grandfather was the first person to immigrate to France on his father's side, is Algerian, was an Algerian Muslim. Um, he doesn't speak about his Algerian heritage at all. At all. And there's a reason for that, because bigotry has been being pushed by the right in France, and the weaponization of immigration has been pushed by the right in France for a long time. Somebody just posted, please don't call out Italians. I'm not talking bad about Italians. I'm not. I'm simply telling you how he ran. But yeah, this is the history of the National Front, which is now the National Rally. See this poster? It says, choose your suburb, vote front. And you see National Front down there. This is an actual poster they plastered up all over France. And the woman in this poster on the left is a woman by the name of Kelly Batesh. You see the French flag face paint versus the woman in the burqa. You can see what this is intended to be. I mean, no one needs to explain this to you. Well, Kelly Batesh is Jordan Bardella's first serious girlfriend. Some would say that she's the one that actually radicalized him and brought him into the National Front. And yes, they're known colloquially as the fascist front. That's their politics, folks. That's what they do. That's what they do. And let's pause right there for a second and talk about it. And talk about how they're able to push this button. Folks, we, through millions of years of evolution, have been hardwired to find faces that look like ours to feel safe. I mean, to think about it. I mean, and this is just science we're talking about. This isn't political. Let's just keep it in the realm of science for a while. As a person, you are hardwired to see faces similar to yours and see safety in that face. And the opposite of that being that when you see faces that are not the same as yours, you do not put trust in them. That isn't necessarily you hate them, but you don't necessarily put trust in them. And it goes so far as, let me explain to you practically how that works. The justice system, or injustice system, depending on how you look at it, has started to move away from eyewitness testimony. Because what they found out when they finally took a look at it, and you old timers like me will remember that witness testimony, eyewitness testimonies used to be the gold standard for any criminal prosecution. I saw him do it. What they've figured out is that if you are like me, you're a middle-aged white guy, or an old white guy like me, or just even a young white guy, it doesn't matter, or woman, it doesn't matter. And they showed you a black person. I mean, literally, let you just look right at that person. You couldn't pick that person out of a crowd. They figured out that the way our brains are wired, people have a terribly hard time recognizing people of other races, whether it's black or Asian or white or whatever. When you get out of your race and you have to identify facial features, your ability, if you're a white person and I show you white people, or you're an Asian person and I show you Asian people, you can pick that person out of a lineup almost 100% of the time. But when they started changing the races up, it plummeted. So our criminal justice system has started to move away from eyewitness testimony because it's unreliable. That hardwiring in the brain, which exists, we have to admit it exists. We have to talk about things in reality. The bigots on the right are really good at picking at that. That's why Fox News, if you go to Fox News, about every third story on social media is about some immigrant somewhere that committed a crime. And they will show you that face because you are hardwired not to trust anybody that looks like you. And it's important you understand that as we move on in this discussion. We're going to stop a few times in our discussion and we're going to talk about things like this. Great comment, Elizabeth Ritter. They are good at normalizing hate. They are. They really are. They really are. So, while Jordan Bardella is the head of the national rally, he is not the leader of the national rally. Marine Le Pen is. And the National Front has been a bigoted, it's one of the founders of the National Front was actually a devout Nazi loyalist. And Marine Le Pen's father, who is also a just scorching bigot. It is who they are. It is their identity. So they rebranded and they brought you Jordan Bardella. This young, handsome, he's all over Instagram. He's got over almost 2 million followers on TikTok. And he talks a good fight. He really does talk a good fight. He says things like this. He says things like this. He has vowed that Russian imperialism will not absorb Ukraine. Yeah, that sounds great, doesn't it? Except for it's crap. It's complete and utter crap. It is. The way it works is Marine Le Pen has her hand shoved up Bardella's butt and pulls a string and tells him what to say. Vladimir Putin has his hand shoved up Marine Le Pen's butt and tells her what to say. She is a puppet of Putin. He is a puppet of Le Pen. Look at that look on Putin's face. That is, I own you. I own you. And he does. He does. And again, they're all running on Putin's weaponized immigration. That is what they are doing. Scare the shit out of old people. Play to their bigotry. Tell them that the evil people that don't look like you are coming, and they are what causes all the crime. And let me tell you how disingenuous this is. Bardella grew up in Saint Denis. Saint Denis is a suburb of Paris. It is the suburb that has the highest number of immigrants in it. They have interviewed friends of his that have grown up. I mean, he grew up with Arabs, Asians. That is the most diverse section of Paris. He did not grow up a bigot. He did not. That was brought to him as he entered these youth movements. And each one of these parties, the National Rally has one, the National Front had one. We have one here in the United States. I've mentioned it to you many times. And this is one of the times I said, we're going to stop and have a side conversation. This is the Republican Party youth movement. You know, the Nazis knew this. You had the HJ, the Hitler Youth. These right-wing parties all do this. And what it does is it soft sells in the beginning the bigotry. And they start feeding these kids their bigoted ideologies. And they come out of these groups parroting the talking points of the bigoted right. And here in the United States, it's Turning Point USA. That's why you hear every one of these young people when we say, look, the 2025 project, they're going to end democracy. You will hear exactly a brainwashed young right-winger will tell you, you're stupid. You're just stupid. We're not even a democracy. We're a republic. So that comes out of Turning Point USA. That video show, I put it on a previous show. I don't like you to appear, but you viewers will remember. It's a really slick talking guy talking about democracy versus a republic. What he's talking about in the video is a pure democracy, which does not exist on this planet. There is not a government that is a pure democracy. In a pure democracy, every decision that a government would have to make would have to be voted on by every one of us. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. We've known that forever. That's why Rome was a republic. But a republic and democracy are not counterintuitive. They don't, it's not one or the other. All it is that a republic is a government that you have representation. That's it. I mean, it's not fancy. It's not any deeper than that. A republic is, okay, we're going to have leaders that make decisions and vote on our behalf. We are a Democrat. I love you people. God, I love you people. I really do. I know I say this every show, and you got to get tired of hearing it. I love you people. We are a democratic republic. We vote to elect our leaders, who in turn vote to represent us. But these numbskulls that come out of the far right wing have been programmed already to think democracy is bad. Democracy is a bad thing. It's chaos. And that's where the bigotry, it's one of the way they scratch on that subject, is they promise order. Because I got to tell you, folks, life is a mess. Life is a mess. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. And in a democracy like ours, watching the sausage get made isn't fun to watch. It really isn't. You see the deals get made and you're like, why are you making a deal with that piece of crap I hate? That's democracy. They get a little something, we get a little something, and we keep moving forward. That's not appealing to people. The verbiage of the hard right, which is always talking about ending chaos, they appeal to people's worst fears. And I'll give you an example, a practical example of that fear that they appeal to. Have you ever heard them saying, we speak English in this country? Have you ever seen the videos of them being rude to someone speaking Spanish or another language? It's out of that fear. Because why do they care if someone else is speaking another language? It's because they fear what they're saying and they don't understand it. You know, they're talking about which product on the shelf that they'd like to buy, and The person that's a bigot and afraid, well, they're hearing threats. I mean, literally, this person's talking about what brand of mac and cheese they want to buy in Walmart. But the bigot hears, let's kill this white lady over here. They use that fear of other all the time. All the time. And that's what they've done all across Europe. That's what they're doing right here in the United States. That's what this militarized immigration is all about. That's why I've got a hurricane that's about to slam into my state, and our $30 billion surplus that we had is gone. And my governor, who's been criticizing my president, is going to go like little boy Oliver with his hands cupped. Please, sir, will you help us with our storm? Because he spent the money on a fake wall that's not even really a wall. Folks, they built this wall miles inside the border. Every time he shows these pictures, and he does, I have to tell you, every damn day you can go to Greg Abbott's social media and he's showing you pictures. Oh, we're building a wall. Well, if you go look at the wall, it's segments. They're miles inside. You can literally walk around the damn thing. It's not a real wall. But I got a hurricane coming that's about to hit my state, and they wasted money on that. Because they want to get the old people afraid. They do. Afraid of the other. You know, Mexico is one of our greatest allies. And the Republican Party spends its entire time talking about, oh, you know, we've got to build a wall. They're criminals. They're terrible people. It's a tropical storm right now because Mexico just took the brunt of it, but it will spin up in the Gulf. It'll be a hurricane. It'll be a category 1 or 2 by the time it makes landfall in Texas. Thank you, honey. Fresh cup of coffee. And it works, folks. It works. It really works. This is what's happening in France. France is one of the most libertarian countries. I mean, liberty-loving countries. I said libertarian. Liberty-loving countries on the face of the planet. And this militarized immigration thing has actually pushed them so far right. And this is why this election is a good thing and where we're going with this, that they're doing this. Minister says, their foreign minister says France will end birthright citizenship in overseas territory. Folks, what that's like is if we decided here, which they're trying to do, by the way, the far right pushes this nonsense. It's just nobody acts on it because we haven't fallen, you know, this is where their militarized immigration is going. We have territories. I was just in a discussion last night with a longtime member of our community who lives in Puerto Rico. She is an American citizen. She lives in Puerto Rico. Do you know she cannot vote for the president of the United States? She can't. No one born in Puerto Rico can vote for president of the United States. They have to move to another state, become a resident of that state, then they can vote. That's here. In France, which is such a liberty-loving place, they're actually ending birthright citizen. You know, France was a colonial power. They have, you know, protectorates. They have colonies. They have, you know, for the lack of a better word, colonies. And they're telling them when you're born there now, you're not going to be a citizen. You're not a French citizen. Why? Because you might come to France. And what's wrong with that? Nothing. But fear of the other. And the far right deludes themselves, folks. I mean, just completely and utterly deludes themselves. Before we move on, let me backtrack up. Let me just I want to end with Jordan Bardella. I want to so that we can move on. Bardella, you have to watch him. He will be in French politics for a very long time. He is owned. Marine Le Pen calls him her little lion cub. That's her nickname for him, her little lion cub. He will be in French politics for a very long time. He is currently in a serious relationship, and they may get married, with Marine Le Pen's niece. This is Nolwenn, Marine Le Pen's niece. They are in a very serious, they will more than likely end up getting married. He's going to be the heir apparent of the National Rally, the RN. Which brings me to another point that I want to address here. You know, I tell you things that are unpalatable, but true. Folks, you will hear me say, end the Republican Party. We have an opportunity. This is a presidential election. Democrats turn out in presidential elections. This is an opportunity to end the Republican Party. But what does that mean? It's like I said in the last show. It's never a zero-sum game. You're not going to remove every Republican from our government. You're not. But you can end the Republican Party as it exists and make room for another party that'll come up, rebuke them, hurt them to the point that nobody wants to be a part of it anymore. But they won't end. You're not ending their existence. Marine Le Pen was decimated in the last election. She resigned as the head of the National Front. She maintains control of it, but she's no longer the figurehead of it. That's where Jordan Bardella came in. They brought in somebody that she could use as a sock puppet that will say what she needs to say. It's like Georgia Maloney changing her. I told you, she's dangerous, very dangerous. She knows how to say things to soften herself. She's at her core a bigot. Jordan Bardella is a Candace Owens. He is somebody that will say anything to anybody as long as her or his owner, for the lack of a better word, puppet master is the best word, says it. That's what we are seeing on the right. And folks, he's going to be here for a while. And that's why I want to give you a bit of bad news. There's something that we like to say on the left, and it's not true. It's not true. It's confession time. It is not true. We insinuate that when we win this next election, that'll be the end of Trump. Trump will go away. He is not going away. Trump will never go away. To the day he dies. Until he dies, he will not go away. Every election cycle, there will be Trump. He has an influence over the Republican Party. You can diminish that, but he will never go away. He will always be like Marine Le Pen. You know, everybody said the same thing about Marine Le Pen after she was just humiliated. She did not go away. Why? Marine Le Pen lives a very wealthy lifestyle. This is her living. She is at her core a bigot, and she makes a good living. being a bigot. She eats the finest food. She flies private. She stays in luxury hotels. And Trump has figured out that his bigotry has a core audience. And he'll never let that go. This is his new grift. He'll do it forever. To the day he dies, he will do it. So our next election and every election after that isn't about, oh, we're going to get rid of Trump, because we're never going to get rid of Trump. We're not. It is about keeping Trump and Trump's values out of power. And we have to watch out. We have to be careful, because there will be a Jordan Bardella that they will prop up. They'll do what the fascist right has done in Europe, which is soften their message. Did you know Trump just came out and put a Truth Social tweet out that said he's never heard of the 2025 project? I mean, it's literally his people from his administration that have written this. His own campaign, they call it Project 47, is literally the 2025 project. But he just came out and said, I've never heard of it. I don't know. Why? Because you heard of the 2025 project. You are disgusted by it. You see the fascism in it. But he literally just came out and said, I've never heard of it. Oh, that guy that wrote it that worked in my administration? I don't know that guy. What the hell are you talking about? They're backpedaling on abortion. They are. They're backpedaling on abortion. Have you heard what Trump says about abortion? He's gone from, I killed Roe v. Wade, yeah, to, well, everybody just wanted it to be wanted states to be able to choose. They're going back to the states' rights thing. Yeah. The next thing that will happen is a Jordan Bardella. And it will happen. It will happen. They will find a young person who is attractive. I don't think he's got a particularly attractive face, but they clean him up well. They put him in luxury cars. They take him out to French villas and do photo shoots with pretty women. Then they get him to say things like, oh, we will never let Pooty Pooch take Ukraine, when he's just lying. As soon as Bardella got power, he would immediately stick a shiv in the back of NATO, and he would immediately start pushing for Ukraine to be carved up into pieces. That is what he would actually do. Because that's what Marine Le Pen would do. And Marine Le Pen controls him completely. And Putin controls Marine Le Pen. So where I'm going with this is, no, Trump's never going to go away. He's not. But we can diminish the Republicans. We can destroy them in the next election. We can make room for another party to come up in its place. That will diminish Trump, and in turn will diminish Putin. In nation after nation after nation, in the UK, they just did it. That is a great example, Aspie. That is a great example. They are the Borg. Exactly. That is a great, if you're a Star Trek fan, you'll know what he's talking about. You know what he's talking. Pixie Cakes. My adult child listening from another room just yelled, the Red Queen had it right. Off with some heads. She's not exactly wrong. No, she's not. She's not. But this is how we do it. And this is where I'm going. You diminish the Republican power, the Republican Party in this next election. You put them out of power, but you don't rest. You don't rest. Don't forget the threat, because that's what they did in France. They had Macron, they were comfortable, and they forgot the threat. They forgot the bigotry. They put a new face on the bigotry. They made it look pretty. And they picked at the things that work. So I want to talk about this for a minute. And I'm going to tell you a few things here that are the God's honest truth. France, if they implemented what the RN wants, the National Rally wants, would collapse as a country. They would collapse. And they're not the only ones. Yeah, veggie out girl. Donald Trump did say he was going to eliminate income tax. They'll say anything and replace them with tariffs. And guess what tariffs are? It's a freaking tax on you. It's a tax on you. Everything you buy, you'll be paying taxes. So no, they're not eliminating your taxes. They're just hiding them like they do here in Texas. That's what they do with the sales tax here in Texas. That's it. It is effectively just a state tariff. And they keep ratcheting up, and they take it from the poorest of the poor. Maud Day says, stay strong, don't lose hope or our freedoms. This is our greatest country on the planet. Amen. Amen. Well said, and thank you for the support. So look, some hard truths here about the right and their bigotry. This is a hard truth. If the RN gets what it wants, France collapses. It does. It's just everybody is screaming this from the rooftops, but the bigots don't hear it. It doesn't just apply to France. It applies to every single Western nation. We, for a half a century, have not had the birth rates to support our governments. Let me say that again. We, for half a century, have not had the birth rates to support our governments. The foundation of your house is bigger than your house. Did you know that? If you measure the walls versus measuring the foundation of your home is bigger. That is the truth about government also. If you ever want to have a retirement, you must have people following behind you that can pay the bills and keep things working. You have to have a growing generation behind you. The right calls it a pyramid scheme. It's not a pyramid scheme. It is a pyramid, but it's the way it works because we keep living longer and longer. We keep, we just do. You have to have people coming up behind you, and we didn't do that. Does anybody know what a dink is? D-I-N-K. It was a very popular term in the 80s. Dink. Come on, folks. I'm waiting for you. You know what a dink is? It was very popular in the 80s. Dual income, no kids. That's right. That's right. We stopped having big families. We did. 2 people would have 2 kids. That is not enough to continue your government. Not with your population. Why? Because people die before they reach old age. You need more than 2 kids to sustain your country because people die. Car wrecks, accidents, cancer, things happen. If you want to have enough people to fund your nation, your defense, your roads, your hospitals, your schools, your everything, you need people to have more than 2 children in their family. Lucky Star says, we became complacent and took our democracy for granted. I'm 61 years old and I've never felt so exhausted, but I'm all in. Vote blue and get over yourselves. Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I'm giving you these hard truths right now. There are not other countries. Do you know why Jordan, let me pause for a second. Do you know why Jordan Bardella harps so hard on his Italian heritage, but never mentions his Algerian heritage? Never. Never. Because in the bigot realm, you've heard this expression before, there are the good ones. The good ones. And in the discussion of immigration, to the French people, the old people, the people that are made scared, the good ones are EU immigrants. Not North African, not Middle Eastern, not, those are the bad ones. Just like here in the United States. You hear them talk about immigration. They're like, well, we just want to fix the immigration system so that we can vet people and we can bring in the right. What they're saying is they want white immigrants. That's what they're saying. They want white immigrants. That's really what they're saying. They don't exist. And this is prep yourself. This is another hard truth. There are no countries, not Russia, not Europe, not anywhere. Nothing. There is no country out there that has immigrants to give that would support our birth rates to allow us to support our government without our government collapsing. They just don't exist. So your choices are this. You can either have grandma squeeze out a kid or two. Bad idea. I don't suggest it. Or you can have immigrants. But that's where the bigots get scared because, life is messy, man. All of a sudden you have people not speaking your language. And when they're talking about which box of mac and cheese they're going to buy, the bigot inside these people hear threats. And it also means learning and change. And these are all bad words. Folks, I want to say this to you clearly so that you understand. If the right gets their way and they put a clamp on immigration, every Western nation collapses. Every single Western nation collapses. We do not have the birth rates. Grandma ain't going to squeeze out any more kids. We do not have the birth rates to sustain our societies at all. We must bring in youthful young people. And those youthful young people, I hate to tell you this, I am negligent and I apologize. I should have had that commercial for you. I've mentioned it before. I'm going to get it for the next show. I promise you. There are other countries in this world competing for immigrants. They are. And I'm not talking about the immigrants that everybody says they don't want. No, I'm talking about professionals. I'm talking about educated people. The UAE, is running commercials to get people to move there. They have no taxes. Did you know that? They have no taxes. The Royals pay for all the infrastructure. And they are literally running commercials in the UK and France and Germany, not so much in the United States because Americans aren't really popular in that part of the world. But they are running commercials to recruit young professionals to move to the UAE. They're fighting for those immigrants. And they're cutting them a better deal. I mean, literally, you can move, if you're a young professional, you can literally move to the UAE. If you don't mind going backwards 100 years socially, you can move to the UAE and not pay taxes on any of your income. So yeah, it's not a matter of, oh, well, we can be great. You know, how great is it to live in France? Scotland passed a bunch of law. The immigration laws are highly competitive in Scotland. They passed a lot of real estate laws and whatnot to make it very attractive to live in Scotland. So the bottom line is, where I'm going with this is, folks, you're going to have to wrap your head around the fact that we're going to have to stop building walls and start building train stations. We are going to have to really open up our immigration in this country. I know it's counterintuitive to the discussion that you hear today because of the fear-mongering on the right. But I've never caught into an ill wind before, and I'm not going to now. I'll tell you the truth. We don't have the birth rates to sustain our government. You like our military? You want to pay for that? You better bring some immigrants in this country. Because they're the ones that come in, they're the engine of our economy. For their entire life, a first-generation immigrant family is a complete engine to our economy because they are constantly working to improve their lives. They buy clothes, they buy cars, they buy houses, and they are constantly working to improve their lives. So they are an engine to every local economy that they live in. This is just a problem, and it is fixable. That is just a problem that is fixable. It does not change that our governments will collapse if we don't get more people in this country. Have you ever seen what happens when a government has to contract because it loses its tax base? I can give you a perfect local example. A couple of them, actually. Tara McHugh says, with the outlook of MAGA looming over us, it will make it hard to get immigrants. However, on the other hand, the worst of the U.S. is still better than most other countries. Yeah, again, it's a problem, but it's a fixable problem. This is actually insulting, but it's true. Roofing and crop picking crews are made up of brown people. It is true. They come and they take hard freaking jobs, man. They do. And they work their asses off, and they are an engine to your economy because they work to buy better clothes, better houses, better food, take care of their people. You know, the American dream, they live it, man. They live it. And they bring their culture with them, which always ends up being freaking great, man. But look, I'm getting sidetracked here, and I don't. We've got to be vigilant. We have got to be vigilant. Trump is not going to go away. He's not. This grift pays too well. He's going to do it forever. The right is always, they don't have to work, man. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is say shit that scares bigots. They're not going to give that up. You have to become aware. You have to become aware. You have to start realizing, because, man, if you think they're good at pushing bigotry now, wait until AI really gets rolling. Remember the poster, Bardella's girlfriend, little cutie with the flag on her face? Wait until that's all digital. So we have to start having discussions about, instead of immigration is bad, immigration is good. We have to start having and saying the uncomfortable things, like we have to make it a felony for people to present an AI image as a real human being. We do. We have to, we actually have to start bringing a lot more immigrants into the country, which means an investment up front, because they will need to be stabilized for a few months, 6 months. And then they will take off, man. They will be an engine of your economy. We got to stop building walls at our southern border and start building bus stations, because we're going to be competing for these immigrants. We are. We're going to be competing for these immigrants. It's time to get to work, folks. It's time to get to work. But you can't ever let your guard down. And this is what I want to leave you with. You can't ever let your guard down. Look what LePen did. She was humiliated the last time she ran election. What did she do? She stepped back. She put a pretty face up there, changed a little of the rhetoric, and they're back in it. Because everybody got really comfortable under Macron and started bickering amongst themselves. Just like we do here. So that's what I have for you today. That's what I wanted to discuss for you today. We're going to watch the elections in France. What I believe, I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to tell you that the left bonded together. People took a look at the first round results and they went, but again, Bardella is hugely popular on Instagram. He has almost 2 million popular followers on TikTok. We Democrats have to develop a youth movement. We do. It's one of those things, I tell you, I don't go high road. I don't. When they go low, we go high. I don't do it. We're fighting. They're going after kids. They are. You may remember a show that we did about the white supremacists in this country. They gave up on trying to form their own parties and trying to form their own groups. I showed you in that show, I showed you communications where they said, you know what? We're stupid. Why are we doing that? All we have to do is join Turning Point USA. And we've got direct access to the kids. All we have to do is join the Republican Party, and we've got direct access to the government. The bigotry is evolving and will continue to evolve. And mark my words, folks, for all their talk, they don't give a shit. They really don't. It's really this simple. It is really this simple. You know why James Comer does what he does? ET, man, with our date. Thank you, brother, with your daily reminder, every show, ET does this service for you folks to remind you to check your registration, check your documents, make sure your driver's license is going to be valid. Make sure you're still registered because the Republicans are going to try to cheat. Thank you, ET. Thank you for that service. Folks, always, always, always stay vigilant. Never fall for the shiny object. Stay mad. Stay mad. These people are awful. You know why James Comer does what he does? James Comer used to be an old hillbilly like my neighbors, like me and my neighbors. Ran some cows. And when he got into government, the folks with power and money, they know how to handle a James Comer. You take a guy that's never had Wagyu out to a fancy restaurant, you give him a bottle of Barbarola wine and a Wagyu steak, let him taste what a truffle tastes like. I mean, it's literally that base, folks. You take old Kentucky Fried Comer, who's never done anything but fly coach his whole life, and you let him fly on your oldest private plane, and you'll own him for life. You will own him for life. They are that base. They are that simple. And it is that cheap. For the cost of the difference between a coach ticket to flying private is all it costs them to buy these people. And you will always have an infinite supply of people willing to sell. Look at Bardella. He grew up in a housing project, a government housing project in the suburbs of Paris. And he's a bigot. He is literally a bigot. It's that easy, folks, and it will happen over and over and over and over again. And the net result, if you want to see a real life example of what their policies will end up looking like, they'll tell you this is what Democrats did this, Democrats didn't. No, Democrats didn't do this. John Edinger, I'm 20 minutes behind on the stream today, so watching live on my Roku. Thanks again for hey, I'm glad to see it, man. I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you're here because that's what it's about. It's about our community. And thank you for supporting the show. You want to see what their policies will look like? Go to Jackson, Mississippi. And they're going to say, oh, it's a Democrat city. Oh, no. It is run by Democrats, but the problems were caused by Republicans. Jackson, Mississippi has a white flight problem. You had white folks that were bigots and afraid that didn't want to live with black folks, and they moved. They left. And the tax base shrunk incredibly. Now, the city didn't shrink. It's still the same size with the same infrastructure. It needs the same amount of policing because, it's got the same territory. All of these suburbs that are half empty now still need sewage, still need police protection. The costs didn't go down, but the tax base did. And it's a disaster. Same thing happened in Detroit for different reasons. When they shipped all the jobs overseas in the 80s, Detroit was decimated. But the city didn't shrink. The infrastructure costs didn't shrink. In fact, the costs went up. That's what happens. That's what happens on a national level because of our low birth rates, because of the right-wing attack on immigration and wanting to kill immigration. I want you to imagine what happened in Detroit or Jackson, Mississippi. I want you to imagine on a national level. I want you to imagine that on a national level, because that's what this collapse looks like. Uncle Russ, thank you. Detroit is making a comeback. It is. Why is it making a comeback, Uncle Russ? Because people move back. They encourage people to move back. And the tax base grew again. Still not right. Still not back to what it was. But it grew because people. And that's exactly what we need on a national level. More people. Because, yeah, it's messy. It is. Life is messy. But the only way for our governments to continue to operate, our societies to continue to operate, our social systems, our social safety nets, everything that makes us American, the only way that America or the UK figured out, they went through, look at what happened after Brexit. They got a real shitburger after Brexit. They learned firsthand how bad that shitburger tastes. And look at how they voted. We have the opportunity to not endure that in this next election. Do it. All you got to do is vote. All you got to do is vote. And we can avoid it. Because I guarantee you that is what right-wing policy looks like. If you don't believe it, look at your last family cookout. You can't stand being around these people. Look at the contraction in your own family. When they get their immigration wet dreams, they will destroy our country. Because our country is not some cartoonish, nostalgic thing that some fiction they wrote. That's not our country. Our country is the people. It's our society. And the only way we can continue that is with people. And we just didn't have enough kids. We enjoyed our success. This is just fact. We enjoyed our success. We enjoyed our lifestyles. We stopped having kids because we didn't want the big families. We didn't want the trouble, the hassle of having and the expense of having kids. And here we are. Well, folks, that's what I have for you today. I'm done. I'm going to step down off my soapbox. We're less than 50 minutes from starting to get results back in France. I'm hoping that what I'm predicting is correct, that the left pull together and the people will continue on in the right direction. Is there anything you want to throw out in the roundtable? This is your part of the show now. No, actually, I don't think it did. I think it worked exactly as intended. What Macron did was he realized that like I showed you, that legislation about ending birthright citizenship, all of that was going on while he was in office, and he was sick of it. He was sick of it. And this bid may end up costing him his prime ministership. But I'm telling you, that government is moving left, because the deals that are going to have to be made to consolidate the left are going to be dragging those conservatives from Macron's party left. They're not going to move harder right to consolidate the left. They're going to move farther left. So yeah, his gambit actually paid off. He may actually still hold on to the prime ministership. They were working on deals. Folks, when the candidates resigned to strengthen their voting base so that they weren't splitting votes anymore, like I described in the last show, they had candidates step out so that they weren't splitting the left vote anymore. They were consolidating support for the left. The majority that resigned were from the far left party. It was split about 60-40. Yeah. This was a real come to Jesus moment. Macron said, look, we're herding cats here. We're picking at each other. We've got the nonsense that we saw here in the United States where everybody was looking for that dream perfection. And if I don't get it, I'm not going to vote, and this, that, and the other. That's what Macron did. He said, enough of this crap. And it's working. Look at, the folks that ended up on the streets after the first round of voting were not the right wingers. They were on the left. Yeah, I think it's working exactly as he intended. Victor, if you go to realtexaspaul.com, there's a link for my P.O. box. You can send if you want to send a letter or something like that, you can send it. Thanks for the support, Matthew. I really appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you keeping the lights on, keeping us moving. Those polls, which have been wrong, every election, those polls are showing to be, so you have to do the math on them, had been showing Biden behind. Now the polls are showing Biden's even or slightly ahead. I'm telling you, the story that got buried after the debates is everyone took a look at that debate and they saw that Trump was the jackass asshole that they always knew him to be, with his fire hose of lies. Every time Trump talks, that's why you're not seeing Trump. Since the debate, has anybody seen Trump? Nope. Because every time he talks, every time he has a rally, every time he is anywhere, he reaffirms everything we hated about him. Fear that the right has figured out that they need to muzzle his ass and keep him away from cameras. That would be the worst thing for us. Yep. Trump came out just the other day and said he doesn't even know 2025 project. What? What's that? Never heard of it. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I think Trump is mentioned in the 2025 project like over 200 times, but never heard of it. Never heard of it. Read it, by the way. They're going to take it down. They figured out it's an Achilles heel. They're going to hide it from you. Go read the 2025 project while it's still up before they can sanitize it or just all out take it down. You've seen by Trump's comment that yes, they're afraid of it now. He's saying, I don't know anything about that. That's not me. Dictator on day one. Remember that? Yeah, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. The way he worded it. I've never heard of the 2025 project, but I absolutely disagree with it. That was hilarious. What a nightmare. I really hope they keep that tack where he keeps pretending that he doesn't know anything about it. That would be a political gift. And forgive me for looking down. I've been reading your comments. That's yesterday's news, man. That's yesterday's news. All right, folks. Well, look, I love spending time with you. We've been running over an hour. I want to go prep for the French election results, and I want to grab a little something to eat. I want you to go grab you some lunch. Have a good day. Be aware, folks. This opportunity in front of us is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is our election. The wind is at our backs. You've got President Biden, who is before I get into this, I downloaded it and have posted it on Midas Test Network Discord server. It is available and good. Thank you. Thank you. You can actually download a copy of it to have your own copy, your own PDF copy of the 2025 project, so you can see where they change it. Look, this is where we're at. Biden is winning this election. He is winning this election. He really is. When you do the math on the polls and you look at how much they've been wrong when you get actual turnout versus what the polls said, we are overperforming the polls. When you figure that in, Biden's winning this election. Biden has a huge financial advantage. Huge. He is destroying the Republicans in fundraising. Biden has a ground game. He has offices open. He has people working in the neighborhoods already. He has a massive, massive advantage on infrastructure. We're winning this. The wind is at our back. This is a presidential year election. This is the year when Democrats show up. This isn't an off year. This isn't a special election where we traditionally don't make it to the polls, which I'm working on. I'm working on that. This is a presidential year election. This is a massive opportunity to decimate the Republican Party. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Vote. Vote. And we can change this country for the better forever. And I want you to think about, somebody just posted something about Jasmine Crockett. I want you to think about this, folks. Think about the stable. This is what's terrifying the billionaire frat boy club. I want you to look at the stable that we Democrats have. You can just start naming them. Dan Goldman. I called him Dan Goldberg the other day. Dan Goldman. Jasmine Crockett. Gretchen Whitmer. Come on, start naming your people, the folks you love. You don't have that on the right. Katie Porter. AOC. Gavin Newsom. Pete Buttigieg. And on and on. Jared Moskowitz, yeah. Ruben Gallego. Jamie Raskin. Adam Schiff. The Democratic Party hasn't been. Josh Shapiro is going to be huge. He's the one that is coming from. I'm telling you, don't sleep on Josh Shapiro. Everything, the momentum is at our backs. The wind is at our backs. And they know it. Eric Swalwell. How could I forget Eric Swalwell? John Tester. Yeah, that guy's a scrapper, man. We have the deepest bench the Democratic Party has ever had. John Ossoff, my man John, Raphael Warnock. The Republicans don't have these people. They just don't. Stay happy, folks. You keep working. Elizabeth Warren. Oh my God. How could I forget Elizabeth Warren? Yeah. Our future is bright, folks. All you got to do is show up at the ballot this election, because this is a linchpin right here. Because if you don't show up, it's not hyperbole. The 2025 project does not begin on January 21st, 2025. It ends. It ends. And I don't mean like we end it. I mean, if they win, it ends. That's its ending date. Because at that point, there will be no turning back and nothing we can do. It will be implemented immediately. They tell you, if you read it, they tell you they already have the legal challenges, everything already written so that they can blitz the courts. They will fire everyone that is not a Republican loyalist. They've already got over 20,000 people who have put in applications at the Heritage Foundation that they are going to just illegally hire. They're going to fire people and illegally hire these Trump loyalists. And then they're going to fight it out in the courts with this Supreme Court. Or you can just vote. And we have this bench, this stack of people doing good things. Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House. It's really that simple, folks. I don't know about you. They keep talking about these disheartened Democrats. I can't find them. I can't. All I find is Democrats that are sick and tired of listening to Republican shit. Amen, folks. Glad to be here with you. Let's keep fighting. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.